up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. My name's Stephen Wright, joined by Mr. William Monroe. How you doing, Will?
Steve, my boy, I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Can't complain. It's a little hot here.
Yeah, we got a heat wave here in the Philadelphia area as well next few days.
Yeah, it's not fun. I think today's our last day. It's supposed to cool down, but not fun.
Makes it nice having that pull out back, I'm sure.
Yeah, except for like it threatens a storm every day, so we don't, and then it doesn't happen. It's been a thing the past like 3 days. It's getting kind of old.
It's like you just got to risk it.
Yeah, for real. We were saying before we started, we got a 14-team mock draft here today. It doesn't look like I changed the title of our draft again. You usually catch me on that.
Is it PPR?
It is PPR, so I got that part right. I'll change to 14 now. We were saying before that it looks like Demaryius Thomas retired.
Yeah, not too much news out there, but one of the greats, especially from our era of watching football.
Yeah, which surprised me because I was like, well, wasn't he retired already?
Yeah.
But I guess he just didn't play last year.
He was on the Jets as of a couple years ago. So I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. So now he opted out last season and officially calls it quits this year.
Yeah, I don't think he opted out last year. I think he just never got picked up.
Maybe he just pretended like he opted out.
Maybe.
Because he knew he wasn't going to get picked up. Because
he was done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
in
case you forgot, before he was a Jet, earlier that year, he was a Patriot.
That's right. So wait, he was at Denver, and then they just bounced between those two for a year?
Yeah, and I don't remember. Did the Patriots trade him to the Jets for like a sixth, or they? It
could have been. Yeah, they could have traded him for for nothing.
It's for nothing. I feel like they did, but I don't quite recall.
I want to say they got a receiver from the Jets. There's a lot of bouncing around in divisions usually, but I feel like they got a receiver from the Jets. So maybe they traded him for like a younger guy that maybe not Jacoby Myers, but like that type of guy that actually is decently relevant.
Yeah, I don't quite recall. So yeah, that happened. And I didn't tell you this pre-show, but I saw a highlight from Joe Jaravicious.
Joe Jaravicious, what a name!
Like, wow, exactly. It's like, that's a name I haven't heard in forever.
You just brought one up in our group chat for the Dynasty League. Who was that? It wasn't Jaravicious, was it? Somebody else, I think.
No, somebody else. Yeah, a couple weeks ago. Every once in a while, you go on Reddit and they'll post like some old name, and it's like, whoa.
Really makes you
think. Forever. Yeah, like Dante Stallworth. It's like, whoa. I remember that guy.
Kevin Curtis.
Yeah, that's another one. Who did I see recently? The Carolina receiver with Delhomme, Muhammad
Muhammad.
Musha Muhammad, there you go. Yeah,
he was there, and then Chicago.
Yeah. Yep, he was another one that I've seen recently, and it's kind of cool going back and seeing those names and stuff. It's fun.
It's fun seeing some old names pop back up every once in a while.
Yeah, people they go like you see and you remember these people that you're playing now, like whoever we draft now, Robert Woods. Everyone's super hyped about Woods. He's always your number 2, blah 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 blah, and then he retires, and 4 years later you completely forget he exists.
So I got another team here for you for Demaryius Thomas, another AFC team, AFC South. It actually looks like it was the first team that he went to after the Broncos. I don't know if you remember.
In the South? Was he a Jag?
No. Houston Texan.
He was a Texan.
He went from Denver to Houston, but he only played 7 games and tore his Achilles. And then he came back with the Jets, it says.
Wow, I do not remember that. Wow.
Stayed in the AFC his whole career, though.
Yeah? Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it was actually funny. Because of Demaryius Thomas retiring, people were bringing up some of his big plays, and I got to relive the Tim Tebow playoff touchdown pass to win a game.
That's the one everyone brings up, against the Steelers.
Yep.
That was wild, man.
I guess some of the other news, not really fantasy relevant, but aesthetically relevant, was the news that the NFL is changing their ruling on alternate helmets. Yeah, so it's going to allow a lot of teams to wear some of their throwback uniforms, because a lot of them, like the Eagles, people have been clamoring for them to wear the Kelly green uniforms, but they can't do it with the current helmets. So if you are allowed to have an alternate helmet, they'll be able to do that. Maybe you'll see Tampa wear that weird orange that everyone
the creamsicle
loves to hate.
Yeah.
You got the I think it's more like a blue Seattle. There's some interesting ones, like Oilers uniforms.
Yeah, the orange Dolphins ones.
Yeah,
were out there for a while. Yeah,
there's some interesting ones that could be brought back because of it.
Yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be fun to see.
Yeah, I think another one that maybe affects us that we talked about was Najee Harris's offensive line there, and Pittsburgh gets a little more complicated with another one of their linemen. I guess he was released.
Yeah, released. I think due to injury.
One of their starters from last year.
Yeah.
Or at least expected starter this year.
Yeah, they brought in, I forget who they brought in. Somebody that, was a Pro Bowler back in the day, but he's older and not that great anymore. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. They really should have addressed that because, with Big Ben's age, you really need to go to a line there.
Yeah.
But, I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you got to hope for the best there, but that's definitely notable. And then you got the tight end university happening. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, that Tebow's not invited to?
Yeah. not he hasn't been a tight end long enough. But yeah, it was like Kelsey, Kittle, and somebody else started a university for all younger tight ends in high school and college to come and practice with them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea. It's a position that kind of seems like they are sometimes neglected.
Yeah, it's a position that people are more... it's more of a brotherhood's probably not the right word, but they're a little bit closer as a position compared to a cornerback that are, they typically trash talk a lot and they think they're the greatest in the world, but the tight end's a little bit closer. So, yeah,
I mean, you think about it outside of, if we're talking about the offense and defense, it's probably the smallest position group. You don't count kickers and punters and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. There's only, 2, maybe 3 on a team.
Yeah, definitely. Well then, Will, are you ready to get working on this mock?
Yeah. I mean, ready as I'll ever be. I feel like I'm kind of scared for this 14-team draft. As I mentioned pre-show here, I feel like no one ever really likes their team after a 14-teamer because of how far you got to dig.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and your running backs drop quickly, your tight ends drop quickly. It's going to be tough. I know there's a lot of people out there. There's not a lot of content for them, so we like doing them. But it's our first of the year, so it'll be a fun little experiment to do. Yeah,
and we'll see how far we can get there. I know it might be a little bit longer with the amount of teams here.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm drafting out of the 7 spot. Will, you are out of the 11. So we're not too far from each other. But you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Let's go ahead and get the ball rolling here. So McCaffrey going off the board first, Dalvin Cook, Kamara, Derrick Henry, Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. I don't think there's any surprise in those. That's starting 6 there. So I'm looking at Chubb, Hill, Devontae Adams, Zeke, Aaron Jones, that kind of a tier. And it's pretty clear cut Nick Chubb to me. I have no problem with you making a case for Zeke, Aaron Jones, if you're really confident. And Rodgers coming back. You got your choice of the top wide receivers here, but with the running back position going to drop, it's really hard to pass up a top running back right now. So, this is not the kind of league that I would be gambling on like a 0 RB kind of a strategy. So I will, I'll lock in Nick Chubb here. See what gets back to me here. Got a long wait. Tyreek Hill off the board. Zeke, Devontae Adams. You're on the clock.
Yeah, so this is kind of what I expected to fall to me here. It's tough. We got Aaron Jones, Kelsey, and then kind of the top receivers outside of Hill and Adams available. So, yeah, for me, it comes down to Aaron Jones and Travis Kelsey. I could feasibly wait on tight end and kind of see if one of the other big ones get back to me a little later. But I kind of want to see what happens if we go with early tight end here. So I'm going to try out Travis Kelsey. Imagine at least one of the kind of the RBs in that kind of second round tier will be available with just a few extra teams in the league. So I'm going to go Kelsey first and look for an RB in the next round. Metcalf, Diggs, Mixon, Aaron Jones, Pat Mahomes, and DeAndre Hopkins here to me. So if we're looking, you got all your quarterbacks outside of Mahomes, or your tight ends outside of Kelsey. Still got your A.J. Brown, Jefferson, Ridley, Thomas, Allen, Keenan Allen, and Allen Robinson. So a lot of receivers. We're going to look running back. We've got Austin Eckler, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift. So definitely kind of that next tier of guys. Down to the kind of rookie that I think this year I like the best, which is Cam Akers, or a veteran in Austin Eckler. I'm unsure how I feel about Austin Eckler. I know it's PPR, so that's going to give him a boost. But I'm just not sure about the workload he's going to get, especially if the offense is more successful. Do they go more downfield with Justin Herbert? So I feel like I want to go upside here, and I'm going to go with Cam Akers. He's a running back that I think has decent baseline, but has a little bit more upside to maybe break into that top 5, top 10 potentially if he has, reaches his full potential this year. But still, can be a back end RB1, high RB2, which at this stage in this type of league, this is, kind of what you're working with. So we're going to go Cam Akers. After Akers goes Austin Eckler, A.J. Brown, and J.K. Dobbins to you.
Yeah, I think Akers and Eckler, for a 14-team league, that's a good. You got kind of lucky there that Mahomes went and another wide receiver went. That would have really burned you.
That would have been rough.
Yeah, because there's definitely, like you said, you dealt with a tier break, from the top guys, but I also think there's a tier break between Eckler, Cam Akers, and then Dobbins, Swift. Although I probably would put Antonio Gibson in that same tier, and I think that's who I would go with here. Plenty of good wide receivers on the board. I would really like to add like Justin Jefferson or Calvin Ridley, but at the end of the day, I'm just not going to own them in too many places. And given we don't do a ton of 14-team league, or I guess because this is our first one, I'm not going to experiment with anything funky. I want to just do a realistic draft on my end. And that would be Antonio Gibson. I trust him more. I trust the run volume, the pass catching. I think he's going to get more than like a Swift on a bad offense or Najee with a bad line. CH has sky high upside, but he's also riskier given what he did last year or didn't do last year. So I'm going to lock in Gibson. We'll see what gets back to me. If another good running back manages to slip through, I'd probably have to grab one, but I really don't see that happening. So we'll see here. We got a long wait. Calvin Ridley, Najee, Justin Jefferson, DeAndre Swift, CEH, and Keenan Allen round out the second round. To start the third, we have George Kittle, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson, and Julio Jones. So Chris Carson did get to me. That would that puts me in a pretty good spot there. Starting with 3 good running backs in a 14-team league. There are 2 other teams that have done that. There are 2 teams behind you, that don't have any running backs at all. So I think that would probably be my play. Other options, just to run through them real quick: David Montgomery, ETN, Kareem Hunt, James Robinson. At the wide receiver position, still got Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Mari Cooper, Chris Godwin. So I'm pretty comfortable just waiting another round, although there's a lot of picks. 14-team league, man. There's a lot of picks. So the wide receiver tier is going to be probably beaten up, but I cannot pass up 3 running backs here. I'll grab Chris Carson and I'll deal with the wide receiver position here later. Mike Evans, Josh Allen, and Darren Waller go off the board. You're on the clock.
All right, back to me. I was hoping one of those receivers or running backs, would fall. Carson, kind of the end of that tier there, so it's a good job gobbling that up and getting 3 stud running backs in a 14-team league. So at this point, there's a couple running backs I like, but I'm probably going to wait here, go with my first receiver, and then go best available in the next round if I have to kind of do a modified 0 RB with Akers and some later picks. So be it. You kind of got to roll with what comes to you, especially in a 14-teamer. So looking at receiver, got Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore. Really only comes down to McLaurin and Cooper for me, and I'm going to go with a little more consistency, which I imagine is going to be Terry McLaurin, and B, I think it's more likely that there's other Dallas players that I can draft later, and I kind of rule them out by taking Cooper. So We're going to go McLaurin and then see what of the running backs and receivers gets back to me here. Wouldn't mind taking Kareem Hunt maybe a little early, but in this type of league, that's probably a guy I'd be looking at here in the next round. So we go McLaurin, Amari Cooper goes, Kyle Pitts, David Montgomery, Travis Etienne, DJ Moore, and Russell Wilson. So makes it a little tougher with Chris Godwin still on the board here. If we're looking at quarterbacks, only Mahomes, Allen, and Russell Wilson have been drafted. Tight ends, you have the big three plus Kyle Pitts. So if we're looking at receiver, we've got Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, Robert Woods, Jamar Chase, which this is kind of one of the things that, looking back, makes it maybe not regret taking Cam Akers, but it makes me less want to take a Cooper Kupp or a Robert Woods. Running back and receiver, I don't hate it, but when it's this early, you're really putting a lot of stock in one team. And if for some reason they end up having a bad year, that really can sink you. So I think we're going to look, really, if I go receiver, it's going to be Chris Godwin. And running back, it's Kareem Hunt. I think probably the better value is Chris Godwin here. But just with the amount of running backs that are on the board and the amount of receivers that are available, I got to go with the position scarcity here. So I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt, lock in a second running back. You look at this team, 14 behind me here. You went 4 straight running backs with Mixon, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, Travis Etienne. And then the other 2 teams have none. So it's going to be interesting to see how the running back position dries up. But I think there's a lot more receivers that I'd be okay putting together with this team. So I'm going to go Kareem Hunt here in the 4th round. After him, James Robinson, Chris Godwin, and Mark Andrews.
Oh, boy, I am not happy with what just happened. Man. I knew Godwin wasn't going to sneak back to me, but I was sitting here like, well, you know what? I don't love the wide receivers. There's still an elite tight end that I see, and Mark Andrews, so I'm going to snag him up because I really didn't think he was going to go. But here I am, stuck. So, boy, I think I still am going to go tight end, and I think I'm going to go TJ Hawkinson. It's probably a little early, but he's definitely not getting back to me. I'm looking at the different options here of Cooper Kupp, who I like, Adam Thielen I like, Robert Woods, Galladay, Lockett, Lamb. They're all solid. It's just that none of them really jump out at me as being big, different. Like, they're all kind of similar. So I'd rather grab a tight end now because this is where, for me, it drops off. I would be happy with Hawkinson or any of the guys that we named here outside of like Pitts, but Andrews, Kelsey, Waller, Kittle, that kind of grouping. After that, you're waiting a long time. You're just throwing a dart, maybe Dallas Goedert there in the middle, but I'm going to take my shot on Hawkinson. It's definitely a risk. We'll see what kind of wide receivers get back to me, especially with 2 teams that have gone 3 straight running backs. They could both grab up 2 wide receivers each. So we'll see what happens. We'll roll the dice. We could put together a wide receiver core here, but Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray go off the board right after me. And there is a big wide receiver run there.
Yeah.
It did not. Oh boy. Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Lockett round out the 4th, Robert Woods, Jamar Chase, Gaskin, Ayuk, Galladay, and Devontae Smith. So really, out of those 12 picks, 9 of them were wide receivers. So that hurt. I could have been at the beginning of the run, and I wasn't. Maybe Hawkinson would have been there, maybe not. It's hard to say. Looking at my remaining wide receivers here, we got Juju, Odell Beckham, DJ Chark, Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins, Claypool. Will, what's your opinion on Juju this year? Are you going to be drafting him at all?
I don't think so. I think if I have to rank them, I'd probably go Deontay, Claypool, and then Juju. Now, Juju's name may still make him being the highest one drafted, but I don't know that I want a ton of players in that on that team, receiver-wise at least. And if I'm going to take any, I think it's going to be Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I'm probably in the same boat. I look at Juju and be like, well, does he still have the upside he used to have? And I really don't think the answer is yes anymore. So I don't think he should be going this high personally, but I'm going to pass him over, and I think I'm going to drop down to Cortland Sutton. Definitely some concerns coming off the injury and the quarterback situation, but I definitely believe in the talent. We've seen a lot of great things from him in the past. So I would like a different wide receiver one, but I'm okay with Sutton being that guy. So we're gonna go ahead and lock him in. We'll see what kind of wide receivers get back to me here. We can lock in as a 2. Maybe Deontay Johnson will be my guy. But there goes Herbert off the board. Javonte Williams, that's a really good pick in a 14-team league down there in the 5th. And then Dak right before you.
All right, so still have your quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, Lawrence, Burrow, Brady, Stafford, Hurts, Tannehill. So there's a good bit of quarterbacks left. Now, it will be interesting to see when we have to try to get those guys, because if there's 14 teams and some of them are doubling up on quarterbacks, we could be starting some interesting players at quarterback if we do decide to wait. But it's not going to be here. Not going tight end, but if we're looking at the landscape, you got Noah Fant, Gesicki, Rob Gronkowski, Irv Smith, Goddard here at the 5'11" in this 14-team league. Looking at running back or wide receiver once again. Now, if I want to keep it even, wide receiver would be the play, although there are 2 teams behind me that in the 5th round do not have any running backs. So if there's any running backs I like, I'd probably spring for that, knowing that there's likely going to be some receivers still available in that next round. So looking at receivers of Juju, Odell Beckham, DJ Chark, T. Higgins, Claypool, you got Jalen Waddle, Judy, Chenault, Brown. So for me, it's probably like a Jerry Jeudy or LaVisca, maybe even a Jarvis Landry. So I'm probably going to wait on that position, maybe even T. Higgins. So we're going to look probably for running back here, and I think there's a guy that I've gotten in a few drafts now that we're going to look at. But top of the board, we got Melvin, Leonard Fournette, Raheem Mostert, Trace Edmonds, Kenyon Drake, James Conner. So not a ton. David Johnson is an interesting one. But I'm going to call my shot here with the Raheem Mostert. We've already got a little bit of safety with Kareem Hunt. I think it being, probably not a ton of upside unless Chubb goes down, but, is going to get some solid carries. So I'm going to hope for health here with Raheem Mostert, take a 3rd running back, which I'm, more than happy getting him as my RB3, especially here in the 14-team league with Kelsey and McLaurin already. And then look for a receiver likely here in the next round. So I'm going to lock in Mostert. After him, Odell Beckham, Leonard Fournette, Juju Smith-Schuster, Melvin Gordon, T. Higgins, and DJ Chark. So still have more running backs that went off the board. Literally the team that has 4 running backs already took his 5th, while the 2 teams that don't have any took 1 combined out of their 4 picks. So interesting strategies there. We definitely got a full 0 RB here in Team 12 with DK Metcalf, DeAndre Hopkins, Amari Cooper, Odell Beckham, and DJ Chark on top of Russell Wilson. So it's an interesting team. What do you feel about that 0 RB?
So I'm actually looking, Will, we got quite a few situations brewing here. Not quite 0 RB. That's just 1 0 RB. And I'm interested to see where it goes. I mean, Metcalf, Hopkins, Amari Cooper, solid grouping.
Yeah.
DJ Chark and OBJ are rolls of the dice that you didn't need to make.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, that running back heavy team needed a better wide receiver than Juju, I think.
Yeah. And then Melvin. I guess Melvin ETN isn't a bad pairing.
It's not. But then, like I was saying before, the team in between them's got 1 running back. Team 8's only got 1 in Dobbins. Team 6 just got Jonathan Taylor. Team 4 just Derrick Henry. Team 1 just McCaffrey. So, we got 1 pure 0 RB, but we got a lot of them that went RB in the first round and then never went RB again. So that's, I guess a modified 0 RB, like grab an RB and then just stop. So I'm interested to see how a lot of these teams play out, and it makes me feel better about what I've done. Yeah.
And it does make me kind of think twice, because I was probably going to go receiver here, and I'd probably be looking at a Jerry Jeudy, maybe let's see who else we have. Jeudy, maybe like a Chase Claypool, but David Johnson is interesting. I know you and I aren't in love with the Houston situation there, but I do think he's going to have some value, and just given the scarcity in the league and the teams here, like David Johnson is going to have value on some of these teams. If we're doing this as a real league, let's say, some of these teams, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams have 1 running back or less already. So I think there is going to be some trade value here. I don't love the receivers a little bit lower down, but I wouldn't mind them, especially, having Kelsey and now 4 running backs. So I'm going to see what happens here going with another running back in David Johnson. It's tough between Ronald Jones here and David Johnson. Just 'cause there is some upside there with Ronald Jones. I probably go with just a little bit, a guy that I think is going to have a role in the backfield there. You got Lindsey, you got Mark Ingram, but we'll go with David Johnson here. Just get another running back, and there are some kind of lower down receivers that I think could take a step up. Actually, you know what? I'm going to second guess myself again here because there's not a ton of receivers either, and Jerry Jeudy I feel like would be a nice pick here.
Tough, man.
Yeah, I know. It is these 14-team leagues because you just don't know what's going to get back. And let's see. So there are some decent other running backs to get as RB4. So I think I'm going to bounce over and going to go with Jerry Jeudy here. A guy that I think going to have a chance to step up, possibly even be the receiver 1 there in the first few weeks. As we'll see how long it takes Sutton to get back into it. But I think both of them are going to have some good value. So we'll go Jerry Jeudy just because I only have the 1 receiver. And we'll see. Try to keep some balance here. Chase Edmonds goes, Jalen Waddle, and Brandon Cooks to you.
Oh boy! So Brandon Cooks was somebody I was looking at. I kind of look at it and say the smart choice would be Brandon Cooks or Jarvis Landry. Kind of get that safer guy to pair with Cortland Sutton. I'm not one to make those smart decisions, so I'm staring down the hype train himself, LaVisca, and thinking I'd like to add him. I mean, if he doesn't pan out and Cortland Sutton does start slow or never gets up to speed because of the injury, I'm doomed. But it's kind of how I play it sometimes. Claypool's not an option. Hollywood Brown's not an option. Brandon Cooks was. Jerry Jeudy wouldn't have been an option since I already got Sutton. Fuller, not an option. Tyler Boyd, no. Deontay Johnson's interesting. Debo's interesting. Robbie, Curtis. So I could reach for one of those, but I think I'd rather just grab the hype and see, what Chenault can do and see if, him and Trevor have a special connection there. So we're going to draft him. We'll see what gets back here. We had Noah Fant, Mike Gesicki, Claypool, a couple quarterbacks there, Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers. There's Hollywood Brown, last pick of the 6th round. Kenyon Drake. There's Ronald Jones. I wouldn't have mind drafted him there. Gronk, Joe Burrow, James Conner, and David Johnson. Another one that I wouldn't have mind getting to there. So I'll take a quick pause and just burn through some of the positions here. We got Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill, Deshaun Watson there at quarterback. At running back, Zach Moss, Mike Davis, Michael Carter, Damian Harris, Trey Sermon, A.J. Dillon. At wide receiver, Jarvis Landry, Will Fuller, Tyler Boyd, Deontay Johnson, Debo, Robbie Anderson, and then at tight end, Irv Smith, Dallas Goedert, Logan Thomas, Robert Tonyan, Hunter Henry. So I think there is a running back that I can't pass up on. We're getting to that tier where it's just not gonna happen anymore. So I think I have to get Mike Davis here. I do like Zach Moss a little bit more than most this year. Michael Carter is interesting. Damian Harris is interesting, but Mike Davis is the one that I'm more confident in. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there, get my 4th running back, and make me feel a little bit more secure, then dive into the wide receivers a little bit more, provided some are left. Will Fuller, Jarvis Landry, Tyler Boyd going off the board right after my pick.
Yeah, Jarvis Landry would have been nice there to pair with Jeudy and McLaurin, but alas, he will not be available. So still looking at receiver, running back, a few quarterbacks that I like. So, possibly next round, but I just don't know what if you're drafting in a regular league, I probably am not even thinking about it because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 teams, including you and I, that don't have a quarterback. So I probably wouldn't even really be a thought right now, but if you're trying to get guys that you want, there are going to be teams here that are going to take 2 quarterbacks at some point. But definitely not now, possibly next round or the round after. We'll see. So if we're looking at running backs, you got Zach Moss, Michael Carter, Damian Harris, Trey Sermon. So not a ton available there. Receivers, Deontay Johnson, Deebo Samuel, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel. So some interesting players. I think Deontay Johnson is one that I called out earlier. If I'm going to take a shot at this receiving core, he's the guy that I go with. And coincidentally, he's the only one still on the board of the three. So I'm going to go him. Debo's interesting too. If Debo's still there, wouldn't mind getting Debo in the next round or looking at the running back position. So we'll go Deontay. After him, Zach Moss, Curtis Samuel, Tom Brady, Dallas Goedert, Michael Carter, Jalen Hurts. So couple quarterbacks go. First team to take a second quarterback, so that could hurt us here. Probably, at this point, going to end up just with whatever quarterback is available at the end, knowing that in all likelihood you're not going to be taking that many double quarterbacks in the real league, but we will see. So running backs, Damian Harris, Trey Sermon, A.J. Dillon, Todd Gurley. Receiver, we've still got Debo on the board, Robbie Anderson, Michael Pittman, Antonio Brown. Still quite a few receivers, so I wouldn't mind. And Damian Harris really seems like kind of the end of the guys that you are hoping are going to be a starter or at least have a chance to start. So I'm going to go Damian Harris here. There's some other running backs that I like much later, but I'd rather get them as depth guys like a fifth or sixth running back. So Damian Harris is going to be the pick. After him, Matt Stafford, Debo, Trey Sermon.
Oh boy, well Debo would have been pretty nice there. That's a shame. Woof, woof, woof. Okay, so quarterbacks, we still got Tannehill there. We got Deshaun Watson, Justin Fields, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins. Running back position, A.J. Dillon, Todd Gurley, Naeem Hines, Devin Singletary, kind of drying up. Wide receivers, Robbie Anderson, Michael Pittman, Antonio Brown, Rashad Bateman, Michael Gallup, Corey Davis. So some interesting low-tier options here. I do think Robbie Anderson's the one that sticks out the most to me. We saw some good things out of him last year, great things out of him last year. We saw some good things out of him year prior. I don't know if the whole Darnold reconnection's a good thing because they have history or a bad thing because that history wasn't that great. But, I've always liked Robbie. I know you've always liked Robbie. I want to add another wide receiver here. Maybe we'll take a look at the quarterback position with the next pick, depending on what happens here. But I'm going to go ahead and lock him in. I just feel a lot more comfortable with another wide receiver under my belt. A.J. Dillon, Michael Pittman, Logan Thomas, Tannehill went off the board. Irv Smith, Deshaun Watson, Antonio Brown, Michael Gallup, Rashad Bateman, Todd Gurley, Corey Davis, Hunter Henry puts me back on the clock. Looking through the wide receivers here, Parker, Rondell Moore, T.Y. Hilton, Mecole Hardman, St. Brown, Mike Williams, Elijah Moore. Some interesting options. Nobody I'm too excited about, so I think I'm going to go ahead and I will snap up my quarterback. And for me right now, that's going to be Matt Ryan. We're looking at Fields, Ryan, Cousins, Mayfield, Trey Lance, Wentz, Tua, that kind of tier. And I think Matt Ryan's a little bit ahead of all of these guys here. I mean, you could obviously make a case for your Trey Lance, your Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, depending on what happens there. But their situations aren't that clear. Matt Ryan's pretty cut and dry, so I will go ahead and take care of my quarterback position now. If this is a regular draft, I probably wouldn't worry about it too much. I mean, I guess depending on your league. If you got a lot of people that draft two quarterbacks, then I would worry about it. But if you got a lot of people that just draft one, I probably wouldn't worry about it right now. But that's not the kind of league we're in right now. So we're going to lock him in. Justin Fields goes right after mine. Pick Robert Tonyan there. Devontae Parker, you're back on the clock.
Yeah, that hurts. I was really hoping Parker would fall there, especially when you were going to go with Ryan. So we're looking at quarterbacks, not much as you mentioned. Kirk Cousins, Baker, Trey Lance. You got Wentz, Tua at receiver, Rondell Moore, T.Y. Hilton, Mecole Hardman, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Williams, Elijah Moore, Darnell Mooney, someone I really like this year. I think has big upside. So depending on what else is available, I may just take my shot on Darnell Mooney and grab him here. At running back, Naeem Hines, Devin Singletary, Tony Pollard, Kenny Gainwell, Edwards, Jamal Williams. So with all the running backs still available there, I'm going to go with the guy that I think is going to have a big year, and that's going to be Darnell Mooney. Lock him in as my fourth receiver here and look to get one of those running backs that I mentioned in the next round. So we'll go Darnell Mooney. After him, Rondell Moore, Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, Kirk Cousins, Tyler Higbee, and Naeem Hines. So back to me. Running backs, looking at either Gus Edwards or Jamal Williams, two guys that I've been pretty high on all year. Don't have anybody at either of those teams, so don't mind taking either one. Given that the case, I'm going to go with Gus, who I think just is overall has more juice to him, and both going to be pretty run-heavy offenses, but Baltimore should be a better team, so probably more scoring opportunities. Now, we'll see how many scoring opportunities he gets with Lamar and Dobbins there, but we're going to lock in Gus at this point in the 10th round. Gus Edwards, after him, Kenny Gainwell, Evan Ingram, Mike Williams.
Man, I was talking to Mike Williams. That would have made me so happy.
Yeah.
That is a shame. But oh boy. Well, we got our quarterback, we got our tight end, so we can really just focus on running backs and wide receivers. Jamal Williams still here. Pretty interesting. But given I built my team running back heavy, I'm going to continue to take shots at the wide receiver position. T.Y. Hilton actually becomes kind of interesting here. I'm looking at Elijah Moore as well, Henry Ruggs, Gage, but I think T.Y. Hilton's going to be my guy. We'll see if he can return the form. I'm not sure. Although saying that, I think this is like the second time that I've grabbed him up in these mocks. So I don't love him, but I guess I'm finding him to be a value where he's going.
Yeah.
Especially if you're building a running back heavy team. So I'm okay adding him here. If he doesn't work out, then no big deal. We're in the 10th round. If he does, that really kind of solidifies my wide receiver grouping. So we'll go ahead and lock him in. We'll see what gets back to me here. I'm not, with the addition of T.Y. Hilton, I'm still going to lean wide receiver if nothing really jumps out at me, but I'm not feeling like I have to go there. So we'll see what happens. Jamal Williams will not get back to me. Went right after me there. St. Brown, Zach Ertz, Hardman, Austin Hooper, Jonnu Smith. There goes Ruggs, Elijah Moore, Russell Gage, some of the guys I was looking at there. Baker Mayfield, Marvin Jones, and Nelson Aguilar. So a couple good wide receivers going off the clock. Off the board, not off the clock. Running back wise, we got J.D. McKissick, Tariq Cohen, Latavius Murray, Philip Lindsay, Chuba, Alexander Mattson, Darrell Henderson, Le'Veon Bell, Sonny Michel, blah, blah, blah. Tier just gets worse as we go down. At the wide receiver position, we got Cole Beasley, Jalen Reagor, Terrence Marshall, Kadarius Toney, Christian Kirk, James Crowder, Sterling Shepard, Gabe Davis. So no one's jumping out at me at either position. I'm not in love with these wide receivers. Cole Beasley's fine. Jalen Reagor, normally I would like him as like a shot at a second year guy, but I just don't see the passing volume happening in that offense. Terrence Marshall and Kadarius Toney, both rookies. Not super interested there. Christian Kirk, Crowder. It's just not a lot. Gabe Davis is kind of interesting further down the board. At the running back position, it's pretty similar. So I'm not really liking what I'm seeing. I guess I will go ahead and just add another running back to have one. And I think I would grab Tariq Cohen, actually. PPR kind of a guy, going to catch some passes. Hopefully he can get that role back after the injury. A little bit of strategy there. If Dalton is the starter for, say, half the season, then maybe Cohen gets utilized. We've seen these old quarterbacks come in and do a lot of check down work, and Dalton's getting a little bit older. So maybe there's a play there. I'm kind of reaching because I really just don't like anyone here. A problem that we're going to continue to see for the coming rounds, but we're going to lock him in there. He's a fine 5th running back to grab. J.D. McKissick went off the board. There goes Wentz. Troutman, you're on the clock and still need of a quarterback there, my friend.
Yeah, that was a gamble I made, especially in the last round with the guys who were available, and Carson Wentz was the guy that I was hoping would get back, just kind of taking a shot on him. Kind of know in the first couple weeks what he is and can move on, but unfortunately he goes. So we're looking at your quarterbacks like Trey Lance, Tua, Tannehill, some older guys after that as well. And then you got a guy like Jalen Reagor, probably be the only receiver that I'd be interested in here.
You said Tannehill. I think you meant Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones, yes, sorry. Yeah, Tannehill would be nice.
Long gone. Yeah, that would have been a smash play there.
So with two teams behind me already having two quarterbacks and the other one having Pat Mahomes, being CPUs, who knows what'll happen, but I think I can wait one more round. If Trey Lance goes, and then, figure something else out next round. But we're going to go with Rager to get a fifth receiver here. So I'll have evened out 5 receivers, 5 running backs, and a tight end. So we feel pretty decent about the depth that I have here. But yeah, it's just tough here in a 14-team league, I'll tell you. So we're going to go Jalen Rager and see what gets back to me here. After Rager goes Cook, Beasley, Cole Kmet, Terrence Marshall, Daniel Jones, and Latavius Murray. So it worked out in my favor here. Going to go Trey Lance and just probably get, a more veteran guy as one of my last 2 picks there after that. So Trey Lance, easy pick here in the 12th round of a 14-team league. After him goes Philip Lindsay, Chuba Hubbard, and Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, so I'm looking here. I took a shot on a running back the last round. I guess I'll take a shot on a wide receiver this one. And I think I'd place my bet on Gabe Davis. Kind of a similar situation to, Rieger, where it's, he's coming to his second year. Maybe he takes that step up, but, I trust that Buffalo offense a lot more than I trust that Philly offense right now. And I trust Josh Allen a lot more than Hurts, at least from a pure passing standpoint. Hurts has a lot of upside as a fancy quarterback, but I think I'm okay with Davis. This is definitely the second or third time I've drafted him late. It's a fine dart throw to take, especially with the other options here. Although, I'm looking, I haven't really considered him any drafts, but Rashad Perriman's there. He could be the one for, Golf and the Lions who end up passing a lot. So I guess that's interesting, but I like Gabe Davis more. So we're going to go ahead and lock in Mr. Davis there. We'll see what gets back to me. There goes Tua, Darrell Henderson, Matson, Lev Bell, Crowder, Zach Wilson. That rounds out the 12th. Sony Michel. Technically a starter, I guess. Maybe.
Possibly.
Don't know. Maybe. 13th round. Christian Kirk, Freiermuth, Sterling Shepard, Cam Newton, and Mark Ingram going off the board here. So taking a look at the running backs, we've got Tevin Coleman, Javen Hawkins, Rashad Penny, Marlon Mack, kind of interesting. James White, your PPR kind of a guy. And we kind of fall apart from there. Coleman, kind of interesting, could start. If there's an injury in training camp or in preseason, he could buy me a couple weeks. Javen Hawkins, I know you've drafted him with your last pick a couple times here, and this dart throw there in Atlanta because you never really know. At the wide receiver position, we got Paris Campbell, interesting. Traquan Smith's kind of interesting. Perriman, I just brought up. Denzel Mims would be interesting, but he's kind of getting beaten up in a lot of reports, and that is not good.
Yeah, he's been getting really beaten up.
Yeah, everyone gets a good report, so we get a bad report. That is bad. That's Dante Pettis bad. He was getting beaten up that offseason, and people are like, oh, no, he was supposed to be our guy. And then, that did not work out. John Brown, Nico Collins, Emmanuel Sanders, Brian Edwards, another guy that we like. But I think I'm going to go ahead and take a shot on Rashad Perriman. I really don't like him, but he could end up being the one for his team that needs to pass a lot. Goff's a capable guy to some degree. So, I'll take my shot there. A fine depth play, I guess. Maybe some upside. Firsker there goes off the board. Traquan Smith, Paris Campbell. You're back on the clock.
All right. So looking at one skill position and then probably a quarterback, took a look at the guys available and people that I wouldn't mind starting for the first few weeks. You got Fitzpatrick, Derek Carr, Ben Roethlisberger, Jared Goff. So some decent guys. More than okay to wait till next round to pick one. Just kind of surface level, I probably would prefer Fitz and Carr. But looking at matchups, right, if I'm expecting, to start for the first few weeks, Fitz starts off with New England and then Buffalo. So pretty tough start for the two. Derek Carr, Carolina, and New Orleans, not as bad. But then if you look at, we have, because in a lot of people will look at quarterback matchups for early season. Ben has the Giants and Denver. Not too bad. One that is actually interesting to me, Jared Goff, a team that I think is going to run the ball a ton. But the first 2 weeks, he has Dallas and Philly. So that could be
that's a situation
where, the team's defense isn't good. And both the defenses they're playing aren't good. So he could have some shootouts early on there with Dallas and Philly. So hoping possibly, worst case scenario, I get one of the four. But Jared Goff's probably the guy to hope for, and then maybe Trey Lance comes out and starts week 1, and we're good to go. So that's the thought for kind of the next round. This round, you got, like you mentioned, Nico Collins. We have Tevin Coleman and Javion Hawkins. And then the other option is the guy that I think I've had in every draft, Brian Edwards. Probably down to Edwards or Hawkins or Coleman. I think with Hawkins or Coleman, you probably know what you have a little earlier. So I'm probably going to go running back when in doubt. I imagine Brian Edwards will be there and could be a guy that I can pick up early on. If Trey Lance gets the starting gig week 1, boom, I can cut my other quarterback and pick him up. So we're going to go here, and we're going to take Javion Hawkins just because I think there's a little more possibility in that backfield. We'll see about the Jets. Tevin Coleman probably starts the year, but I imagine the rookies eat into him there. So we'll go Javion Hawkins. After him, Gerald Everett, Tevin Coleman, John Brown. John Brown's not a bad one either, actually, in Vegas. Denzel Mims, Rashad Penny, Marlon Mack. And I'm just going to go with the matchups here. We'll go Jared Goff with my last pick to pair up with Trey Lance. After him, Nico Collins, James White, and Salvin Ahmed.
Okay, so we're looking at my final pick here. Taking a look at the running back position, we got Darrell Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, Keyshawn Vaughn, Jerick McKinnon, Devontae Booker. So we're not in a great tier. Elijah Mitchell, I guess, would be an interesting kind of dart throw. At the wide receiver position, we got Emmanuel Sanders, Brian Edwards, you mentioned, Amari Rodgers, Sammy Watkins, I guess, is kind of interesting. A lot of good reports coming out there. AJ Green, I've taken shots on with my last pick a few times here. I'm still okay with that. MVS, Lazard kind of played that game. Blah, blah, blah. Kind of just gets worse from there. I think I'm going to throw a bit of a wrench in my kind of normal plan here.
Don't you dare take Brian Edwards.
I'm not going to take Brian Edwards. I like Brian Edwards, so that wouldn't be a wrench. I think what I'm going to do is going to draft Jameis Winston, I think.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm just looking at these running backs and wide receivers at 14. I'd want to take a shot on upside. I just don't see it. Like I said, and I've done before, AJ Green's fine. Brian Edwards is interesting. Maybe MVS finally puts it together. Sure, you could take your shot there. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Same with running back. You want to add Stevenson. Maybe he wins the job. Elijah Mitchell. Maybe he wins the job. Something like that. I don't really have an issue with that. But just for the sake of doing something different, Jameis Winston has more upside than Matt Ryan at this point if he wins that job. I think anyway, given, how Winston chucks the ball around, how Michael Thomas, a good coach. So I'll take it. If he wins a starting job, cool. Maybe I end up rolling with Jameis. We'll give him a couple weeks to figure it out. If he doesn't win the job and Taysom's starting, I'll drop him and I'll pick one of these guys up with the upside off the waiver wire before the league starts. That's how I would go about it. So we're going to go ahead and lock him in there. I'm okay with that. Manny Sanders. There is Tim Tebow going at 14-10. Stevenson. I'm assuming that's Damian. No. Darrell Williams? Yeah, Darrell Williams. Fitzpatrick and Keyshawn Vaughn here. That rounds out our draft. Will, you want to give a rundown of your team?
Yeah, so quarterback, we got Trey Lance and Jared Goff. Running back, Cam Akers, Kareem Hunt, Ray Mostert, Damian Harris, Gus Edwards, and Javion Hawkins. Wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, Jerry Jeudy, Deontay Johnson, Darnell Mooney, and Jalen Reagor, and then Travis Kelsey at tight end. Actually, surprisingly, I like the team more than I thought I would. Obviously it's not great, but you have to take that into consideration that you have 2 more teams in the league. So it is going to reduce kind of the overall, value of each team. But yeah, overall, I actually don't mind it, especially going Kelsey early.
Yeah, and I will, before I run down my team, we talked about a lot of these teams that went 0 RB or 1 RB, and I think I hate all of them.
Yeah, especially this team here that didn't go 1 for this first 6 picks. They end up with Zach Moss, Naeem Hines, Latavius Murray, and Marlon Mack as their 4 running backs.
I would not have mind that as a zero RB if they went Damian Harris instead of Jalen Hurts. And Moss, Damian Harris seemed like good zero RB kind of guys.
Yeah, not bad at all.
But they didn't. So whatever. The one went McCaffrey and then Kenyon Drake, Sony Michel, Keyshawn Vaughn. I hate that. Derrick Henry and then Gurley, Matson, Stevenson. Hate that. Jonathan Taylor, David Johnson, AJ Dillon. Yeah, Jamal Williams. That's not bad.
That's actually pretty solid. And they got Mark Ingram too, so you likely have a starter there.
Exactly. Now, if they went, instead they drafted Devontae Smith in the 5th round, if they went with Sutton or, anyone else, I would be a lot more okay with that team. Lamar Jackson's there, Fant's there. That's an interesting team. Zeke Elliott, Javonte Williams, and then Chuba and James White. I'm not really digging that. Then the other team 13, we mentioned Leonard Fournette, Michael Carter, Pollard. I'm not loving that either. But
it's tough. Hard out here for zero RB.
Yeah. And then this other team, that we were talking about that went running back, their first 5 picks out of their first 6.
Mm-hmm.
Mixon, Aaron Jones, Montgomery, Etienne, Melvin Gordon. Their wide receiver core ended up with Juju, Terrence Marshall, John Brown, and Mims. I don't think he's going to be...
John Brown actually isn't bad.
It's not a bad shot.
Like a better, wide receiver 2. But like, even if you have to, John Brown as a 3 isn't horrible. But
and like we said, Juju is rough. But so we'll go ahead and run down my team here. I got Nick Chubb, Gibson, Chris Carson, Hawkinson, Sutton, Laviska Shenault, Mike Davis, Robbie Anderson, Matt Ryan, Hilton, Cohen, Gabe Davis, Perryman, and Jameis Winston. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I like it. Pretty happy with the running back or the quarterbacks there. Obviously, the running backs are great. Wide receivers, suspect. But I went tight end early, running back early, and that's just what's going to happen. You're hoping Hawkinson comes through and he's kind of that wide receiver 1 kind of a guy. But with that said, I like that wide receiver grouping. It's pretty solid. So despite the 14-team team league, Will, I think me and you did pretty good compared to a lot of these other teams here.
Yeah. And like you said, CPU is tough to really compare yourself to, but yeah, not too disappointed.
So that's going to close out the draft here. As always, give us a follow on Trust Your Board or on Twitter at Trust Your Board. You can follow the board on YouTube. Again, Trust Your Board there. We'll be back next week with another mock draft. Until then, folks, trust your board.